It just seems so in tune with in terms of how often he drew it in the previous series. This is an uphill struggle from turn 1 with every deck that Blyze has available. But much like RDU, he is finding those shanks in the opening hand, at least on this sample size of 1 so far.
Yeah, keeping hold of the prep as well. What is that going to be for, Sottle? Because it's not like there's any huge combo turns the deck makes use of, similar to, say, Garrote Rogue, for example. But what is he really keeping this prep for to combo with the Swine Tusk Shank?
I would expect just stuff to help him go as quickly as possible. So Swindle, Secret Passage, that kind of thing. Prepping even a Silverleaf Poison potentially, especially with the threat of Viper coming back on the other side. Just trying to get as much usage out of the cards as he can in one go. Even potentially prep Cutting Class is something that he could pull together just to get value out of that Cutting Class before the weapon potentially gets destroyed, if he needs to do it early. I think it's a smart keep. And one of the things when Blyze was streaming Hearthstone regularly, with multiple decks, with Garrote Rogue, Weapon Rogue, when I've seen him play it as well, he does keep prep more than any other player I've ever seen in multiple situations, and does have some real interesting justifications for it as well. I'd see him one keep prep in Garrote Rogue just so he would be able to go prep into first of the season. Card name has gone blank in my brain. 3 mana, draw 2 minions, give them stealth. What's it called? Shroud of Concealment. So he could go prep Shroud on turn 1, for example, if he picks that up. So he's a big keep prep gamer as far as I've seen.
Yeah, he's also made use of it already, drawing cards, drawing poisons, using that prep, as you mentioned. He's pushing as much as he can, and now it looks like he's ready to be Vipered at this point. He knows he's stacked poisons on there, and he knows if Viper was going to come down, if Viper was in hand, it would be there now. The weapon would be broken, but SuperFake, of course, doesn't have access to his Viper, so he's just going to keep on going. Does have a fairly sticky board now, though, with double Noble Mount on the board, effectively, and some pretty threatening minions. So, of course, although Blyze has the weapon and it is going along nicely, he does have to make sure he can end the game. Sinister Strike, Wicked Stab, and a Guild Trader. Whoa. Ever just, like, bank some of this damage instead of passage this turn?
He can deal 5 extra here with Garrote and Sinister. Opponent would go down to 14. He would then have another swing of the weapon next turn, putting the opponent down to 9, and then would just have, 1 Garrote, a Wicked Stab, and a Sinister Strike available to end the game, with an upgraded Wicked Stab as well, going up to 4. So that would be the 9 he needed at that point, if there is no taunt, no healing coming out from the other side. So it is a potential 2-turn setup that he could have gone for in that position. But of course, expected play for your opponent this turn is that Aldor Truthseeker. So maybe just going greedy with the card draw, trying to find those cloaks and scabs for the later game turns is more where Blyze's head is at.
There's so much damage in Blyze's hand, and he does have that cloak, of course. SuperFake just doing what he can, does have the Aldor down on curve, as you mentioned, has the option now of where to put the Libram. It's got to work out if there's any break points he can stop with the kill on this taunt minion, right? I think that's question number 1. Does 8 health make a difference versus 7? He's pushing, though, and it pretty much is just this turn could well start to decide the game.
The cloak has to be played this turn because there's lethal represented on the other side and he can't deal with it, but that is all of the damage. All of it, Raven.
Throw a stab at this 5/7.
So many options.
How does that help? He'd sink 7 damage into it, or more than that. He'd sink 9 damage into it this turn, just for the upside of being able to get 5 to go face.
Oh, he has extortion, sure, yeah. Okay, yeah, I actually I didn't
weapon
see
attack,
extortion, that's just better, yeah.
Makes sense. Cloak again is huge, but the problem is, if he doesn't kill this turn, he's going to run into that Libram of Hope the turn after. So far, so good. Still so far, so good. And that means at the first port of call, Wicked Stab Wicked stab, sinister strike, weapon to the face. That is 12 damage. Perfect two-turn setup there from xBlyzes. Played it greedy with the extra card draw on the additional turn, and that means the weapon rogue is out of the series already, Raven. And is that it? Have we now spelled disaster for SuperFake, as we can see in classic TJ fashion that xBlyzes is incredibly excited by what happened during that game?
Potentially, yeah. This is a huge problem now for SuperFake, because we've seen him struggle and get basically stomped versus the other two decks in this lineup already once today. So it's going to be a big problem. And I think the frustration here for SuperFake is his hand, outside of not having Viper, of course, his draw wasn't even bad. It's just, he just got absolutely destroyed. And I think, again, just we were talking about the prep keep early on with the weapon. We saw weapon, prep, silver leaf, boom, start the card draw cooking. And it paid off really well. And xBlyzes had so much damage. He did have time as well with Cloak. Of course, we can see Libram of Hope would have sort of changed the way the game continued to play out. But still, xBlyzes just, in xBlyzes fashion, just turboed through that game and was simply too fast for SuperFake. So yeah, big questions now, as it looks like xBlyzes is jumping to his Demon Hunter. But what does SuperFake do? Now it's as if SuperFake's on the side of, now I have to win these unfavored matchups, as opposed to forcing those unfavored matchups with the Rogue against xBlyzes.
Yeah, now he's in the position where he has to face against the Demon Hunter, a deck which is now 9-0 or 10-0, I believe, in the week between RDU's games and xBlyzes games. Genuine 100% win rate in Hearthstone Grandmasters in the Europe region, at least. And then, of course, Druid, which xBlyzes has shown an incredible propensity for just forcing out those fast Kazakhstan draws with whatever it takes. Moonlit Guidance, Capture Cold Tooth Mine, whatever he needs to use to get those curves as quickly as possible together. Very, very nicely done in the first game from xBlyzes to put himself in an incredible position now, because the correct way to set up that two-turn lethal was not the easiest thing in the world to see, right? Like, using the extortion and then to deal with the brute makes sense. Sorry, the brute. The outer.
Are you looking at the card brute?
I was, yeah. Say what you see. I'm Ron Burgundy. But he had the ability then, by clearing out the taunt on one turn, he gave himself an out. And that out was no second Aldor, no Divine Shield taunt coming down on the following turn. It meant he had exact lethal on the follow-up with just the remaining burn spells in his hand. There was multiple ways that he could have gone about doing that. Ignoring attacking the taunt, for example, and just firing all the burn spells at face and then going for Guild Trader plus burn spells on the following up turn, but that did not get there. He found the one that worked. He found the out. The out was hit, and that is what it's about when you're playing unfavored matchups like that. Find yourself a win condition, load up the shank, say that you're not going to draw your one on Viper, and then execute correctly when you get that window of opportunity. It's exactly what he's done, and now he's rightly put himself in a position where he's a monster favorite for the series, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, just looking at this brute list there, we've seen it win multiple ways, right? We've seen the early brutes obviously overwhelm opponents when just the big, huge taunt minions come down on like turn 4, 5 or something. And then we've seen the later games where heavy card draw with maybe the help of the odd minion or two pushing some damage, but then the Lion's Frenzy coming out to play and hitting super hard. So this deck is pretty flexible. There is that sort of hidden additional weird threat of the Kurtrus quest reward that is still just a 5-mana 7/7, especially with the speed in which we've seen the quest being activated and finished with this deck as well. So there is enough to get there. It does look like it's going to be Paladin again from SuperFake. But yeah, this Brute deck, I think I said before we even went live, it just feels like Brute's just going to get a win if it's played. So just tick that one off whenever, and then we can talk more about Rogue Druid. But now with Rogue already having a win, I think SuperFake might have to rely on Druid, like whiffing 3 times, which again is another big ask. It happens, of course, but it just feels unlikely. So a lot of pressure now going over to SuperFake now that that Rogue is done and dusted. And I imagine xBlyzes is feeling a lot better about the series and doesn't have to worry about, right, Q Rogue lose, Q Rogue lose, Q Rogue lose, and then fall out that way.
And honestly, I feel like the whole dynamic of the series is now flipped because, to my mind, we've now gone from a position where the narrative of the series is how on earth is xBlyzes Rogue going to get a win, to now we're in a position where I feel like I'm asking how on earth is SuperFake's Mage going to get a win? Because I can see Druid getting a win, right? Druid is Druid, it can do Druid things. If it gets like fast alignment into whatever against a Brute Demon Hunter, then sure, you can go faster than them, get the oppressive board down first. That's fine. Libram Paladin against Druid, yeah, that can totally get a win, right? Libram Paladin against Demon Hunter, that can totally get a win. Divine Shields are annoying, you make big mid-game minions, all these kind of things that Demon Hunters don't want to deal with. When I line up this Mage from what we've seen of it in my mind against these two decks, the Demon Hunter and the Druid on the side from xBlyzes, like, where is that deck getting a win from? That's the big question for me right now in the series.
I will challenge you on that, or at least take the other side of this, where I do think if SuperFake's Mage hits the Druid, then that is winnable. Because I just think there's a lot of early minion pressure combined with some late game bursts. Like, I mean, we played the matchup, right? And it didn't feel great. Obviously, Druid can always just do silly things. But yeah, I think like the Mage does have game versus Druid. The problem is if xBlyzes wins with Druid against anything else, then the Mage will struggle, I do agree.
SuperFake just giving a little chuckle like, oh, there you are. Okay, late to the party as always, I see. But again, I did describe it just before we went to the break after SuperFake's first series. Like, I felt like he ran above average in the series that we saw. Again, I do like genuinely want to give him commendation for what he's tried and what he's executed so far with the lineup. But I do feel the Viper draws were just a little too convenient to be able to call that, you know, an average pan out. So, you know, maybe that's just variance leveling itself out in the series.
The hero power come down on turn 2 here for xBlyzes, just to pick off this 1-1. SuperFake's curve starts to get better, obviously having a weak opening of nothing to do on turn 1 and 2, really. We're looking for Noble Mount here, but he got Hand of Adal. It's a shame for him.
It is a shame. Let's get picked off immediately by this Soul Shear if xBlyzes would like. Awkward mid-hand Crimson Sigil Runner.
Brute turn.
Okay. That means the Brute is going to go down to 4 and then down to 3 with the discount. That Philosophy is also hitting 0. But he is stalled out from here. Coin the Soul Shear most likely. Try and get those fragments in the deck for drawing next turn.
SuperFake did get the Banana Man, which does help. Otherwise, his draws were looking a little bit flimsy for this turn. So at least this keeps his hand going, but it is just a weak turn in sort of isolation, right? It's a turn 4 where you've played a 2-1. On board, it is not putting much aggression forward. It just has to hope that xBlyzes doesn't have anything big this turn.
Man, he would have loved to have outcast that Glide this turn, but the Lion's Frenzy blocker was just too much of a problem. Ooh.
Gets 2 Brutes back. I don't know why that's so funny.
Brutes down to 2, Spectral Sight down to 0. 6-7. 6-7. Yes, what the indeed, SuperFake. We were wondering with our hopeful interview that we'll be conducting how SuperFake's English will be in such a scenario, but based on those 3 words that just came out of his mouth, he certainly speaks at least a little bit of English.
Certainly knows the common phrases.
Yeah, he's got the important stuff nailed down.
So much card draw to continue for xBlyzes, and even in this turn.
Acrobatics, double 1-drop, Crimson Sigil Runner in the right order as well in outcast position. Are you okay?
Isn't it? It's just how you do it. I was going to say, even if like the minimal amount that xBlyzes is realistically going to do this turn is finish his quest, fine.
Yeah.
Like on top of having these Brutes, like yes, the Brutes don't line up so well, and he won't get a reduction on the board, which is a bit of a shame, which means he can't get a clean kill on the Eldor. I would have loved to have played Broom as well this turn, but still.
Yeah, just going to chew it through. Bad trades, but good enough for now. Let's just use those 2 brutes to just kind of buy a little bit of tempo this turn. Put SuperFake on the back foot, make him have to use a Broom to react to this board instead of just straight up developing. And then that little release of pressure will be enough for him to just slam Kurtrus on the board next turn and take really firm control of this game.
This is going to be 2 brutes down, though, if SuperFake goes for it. I believe there's 1 in the deck still, like 1 normal brute in the deck. And then it is reliance on the combination of this Kurtrus and, of course, the Lion's Frenzy to get the big work done.
Yep. There is still another philosophy remaining, though, I believe, or is it just a single philosophy in the list?
Let me check.
Check. It is 2. Yeah, no, so there will still be a philosophy left remaining. Use the Broom this turn just to take tempo back once again. Fully defended his position now, has landed the Kurtrus. He's past the problem turn where he has to spend 5 on getting that 7/7 into play. And from here, it's Razorglaive all the way to the bank, I think.
It is pretty important as well. Blyze will be hoping for a no carry-all this game, as we've not really seen any game from SuperFake so far, right? Because that, yes, Blyze runs a Rust Drop Viper, which he can probably dig to if he needed to, but you'd rather just not have to, right? Like, that's just to keep it simple. You'd rather not see the carry-all at all.
Yeah, you'd rather life was just easy, you know? Just nice and simple. High roll 3 games, win the week, alt F4.
No, wait 30 seconds.
Wait 30 seconds. Alt F4.
No, wait, he can't do that. There's an interview.
Oh, no. Oh, we're wasting so much of his time right now.
It would be the most Blyze and the most me thing if I start the interview and he just alt F4s out of it after the first question.
I interviewed him for playoffs. Like we did a pre-recorded interview, so we arranged a time, we met up. Genuinely, as soon as I said, all right, Blyze, thanks for your time, like gave the sort of broadcasty sign-off or whatever, he just straight up F4'd out of the Discord call. It was incredible. Easy. I was so happy.
They will never catch me. They will never.
Well, there's the Viper again. Unlikely that he's going to sit and try and hold on to it so far, just with the rate in which this deck does draw through its through the cards. So it is still there as a keep if needed, but also an option to just cycle.
These are due back tomorrow.
Librarian Soulshear is a great pickup for 0, getting some extra fragments in the deck as well. Will, I imagine, want to get the Lion's Frenzy down this turn to cash out some of this card draw that he's already picked up. Playing the Tusk Piercer first, so he picks up the extra card draw. Very, very smart indeed. Soul Fragments coming through. Would love this draw to be a Brute now. Okay, not quite.
Still a smooth 10 damage going to the face there, and at this moment in time, not a lot SuperFake can do about it. No heal. He does have a Devout Pupil, so that is something. He does have Taunt available in some respect and can clear off this board.
Yeah, he knows that Blyze will see the Royal Librarian again, though, in the next turn, right? So 1 Taunt is not going to cut it. He's going to need multiple. Oh, 1 mana off the Carriel. As long as Blyze has enough juice left in his deck to be able to stack this to 20, I think he'll be feeling relatively comfortable here, because that Devout Pupil can be silenced.
Yeah. Well, these help.
Start the tradable train. There is that Librarian. That needs to be played. He's double discounted it, drawn it twice since the initial draw, which now gets the silence through. Philosophy can essentially add an extra card to his deck here. So he can now glide and put 1 extra card back into his deck than he would have done otherwise. Picks up an additional glide as well. That's exactly what he wants to see. There's the Spirit Jailer, 2 extra fragments going in. Finds the tradable as well. Oh, it's going to be razor fine margins here. Fragment means he's up to 14. Razorglaive comes down. 0 mana brute.
Yeah, he's
draws.
fine, right?
Soul fragments. Yeah, it's looking good from here. Although, does he have enough cards left? 18. He's maxed out.
Is he one off with hero power?
19. Oh no!
Did he need to? Was there ever a point where he could have traded earlier? Would that have changed anything?
I don't think so, right? I mean, potentially, but I think his fear was without the Razorglaive Sentinel, he was not going to get enough card draw to necessarily get to the bottom of his deck. And so just looping 1 mana per 1 tradable for the rest of the term was not going to get him to lethal anyway. So I think going that route falls short most of the time. That is a heartbreaking situation now, particularly with all the clearing power that SuperFake has with this Libram of Wisdom.
Also has a Libram of Hope as well, which is another Divine Shield taunt minion, and also means that, well, guess what? The Librarian's been played. There are no more cards left in the deck. SuperFake knows what the 2 cards are left in xBlyzes' hand.
Yeah, it's all a relative formality here. Like, SuperFake is just focusing very hard on making sure that he gets this board clear right. But this is what matters. This is where the escape concede comes out from xBlyzes as soon as he sees the Libram of Hope hit the board, because that is unbeatable from that scenario. And there you go. The very first loss for Brute Demon Hunter in Europe Grandmasters this week. SuperFake, the man to finally vanquish the seemingly unbeatable deck this week. Did it with the Libram Paladin, which to my mind was his best deck remaining in the series, so I don't think xBlyzes' chances have taken a huge dent just yet. I feel like the Libram Paladin might have been the one that was going to get a win over the course of the series, but still, the difference between a 2-0 and a 1-1 in this situation when xBlyzes' targeted deck has already got out of the series is massive.
Yeah, SuperFake's still got a lot of work to do, but it's a glimmer of hope, right? And again, just heartbreaking for xBlyzes. He got 19 that turn, 1 off lethal. It was such a, again, you can tell how comfortable xBlyzes is with the deck, right? In just how he pilots it, how confident he is with each of these sort of long, drawn out, kind of complicated turns. But just 19 was very, very rough in general there. And obviously SuperFake having not only the clear, but the heal and the taunt, right? Because obviously without a heal and a taunt, even if there's a clear, there's 1 hero power and he's dead anyway, so it doesn't matter. So a really, really, really rough game there for xBlyzes. But like we said, SuperFake puts a point on the board. Now just going to take a quick look. Looks like xBlyzes is, shock horror, sticking with his Demon Hunter. But now, Sottle, we're going to see how the Mage performs against not a slow, clunky deck, as we've just quite rightly seen from xBlyzes.
Yeah, and so I imagine, your allusion to the fact that there is a decent early game curve in this deck, I think that's probably the best win condition here for SuperFake. Either that or like double Wildfire into Mordresh kind of deal, right? Where he can just super swing in the late game if xBlyzes goes for some massive brute ball. But I would suspect the best route to victory here is just going to be a 1-2-3 minion curve, trying to be as aggressive as possible, pushing through as much damage in the early game, and then just having those minions already in play to be able to trade down the brute boards when they come.
Does have a big game hunter as well if they're buffed, so.
That's a good point, yeah.
And BG, a brute.
You ever deliberately unoutcast your philosophy to play around big game hunter?
Oh, played around BGH. Oh, takes me back, so takes me back years.
Yeah.
Here we go, though. Let's dive in. SuperFake again. I think you were quite right that he will, as usual, just want those early curve minions. And you know what, Sol? He pretty much got them.
That is looking like an early curve to me.
Me tusks won't stop shattering.
It's the reduction on the Drakefire amulet.
Oh, no, he has.
Likely to be relevant this game, I'll say.
Yeah, he has coin 4/4 though, which is pretty nice.
Yep, agreed.
You can't stop this snow
Breeze is going to delay Blyze as well, proccing this weapon, unless he gets another weapon, of course, which can then force the death rattle through.
Oh, look at the curve as well. Coin 4 into 4, and the Mordresh is already banked as well. These Reckless Apprentices are actually going to juice the hero power pretty significantly here as well with the boards that Blyze is making.
Yeah, I was going to say, if there were no minion boards, then the Reckless Apprentice helps, obviously. Doubles the amount of pings you do on a turn, basically. But with the more minions, yeah, this is the best deck in the world. Going up against Demon Hunter. Could make it. Even this minions, right? It's just a lot of pressure, and this isn't the Fell Demon Hunter. There isn't waves upon waves of removal that you can rely on. Blyze really does have a few removal tools, of course, like you can see the Soul Share in the hand, but it's not reliable, it's not big sweeping AoE. It really is just mainly about shuffling the fragments in the deck, honestly. But he can kill a couple of minions, but the rest has to rely on these brutes to get the work done.
Gonna pivot now to the Evoker, pick up some armor, finds Wildfire, which is actually not the worst case scenario when he's planning for this big Mordresh curve. That is the card for Blyze, though, this turn.
SuperFake's like, yeah, my hand was pretty good, but maybe my hand will get better. It'll be okay. Wait, is that a playable brute?
That is a playable brute, yes. Oh! Okay, wait for the big game hunter. It's coming.
Yeah.
Wait for it. Oh!
Big game hunter! No! MVP!
Unbelievable scenes, Raven.
I called it!
The big game hunter!
The tech. It works every time. Imagine not playing BGH for the past few years. Look at this trade.
Oh, he's got the brute in his sights.
And Mordresh is back as well. Are we too harsh on this Mage when we thought it only had 1 or 2 good matchups, Sol? Is it simply the best deck?
Is it simply best deck Mage?
Exactly. There's a reason it's officially called that, as you saw on our very officially done graphics. Obviously, shame for SuperFake. He doesn't have mana to really get the ping going or anything here. But still, I think one trade at least seems reasonable. Just bring the health pool down just a little bit.
Lion's Frenzy, definitely not the draw Blyze wants to see. Acrobatics, much more like it. There's Brute number 2, but it's going to be slightly out of range for now. Never mind, that appears to have hit Soul Fragments. Yep, there we go. Which means further draw is coming, because now the Acrobatics aura can be used on the Brute.
Luckily for Blyze, SuperFake is only running 1 BGH, which means he doesn't have to Librarian his Brute to keep it safe.
These are due back tomorrow.
Librarian is going to get traded here. Brute number 2. Brute number 3 coming down, I should say. Acrobatics is going to draw. And now here we are again with Blyze in control of the tempo, leading now into that Kurtrus turn. He has Kurtrus Broom again to be able to react to more minions if he needs to. And there is currently, even though SuperFake can deal with most of it, there is still 14 damage staring down SuperFake on the other side.
And also, SuperFake is a relatively long way away from getting Mordresh down. I'm not even talking about the amount of pings, but just simply the amount of mana he costs.
Yeah.
So I think barrier, like deep water barrier this turn and just kill a brute is about as good as it's going to get for SuperFake.
Deep water barrier does sound like something that's like 30 miles under the water somewhere off the coast of Australia, like genuinely.
Yeah, stopping Godzilla getting in or something.
Yeah. As is the way out there.
Ping trade. Okay. Put in another minion. Are you in spectator, Sol?
My quest, my revenge.
Yes, I am.
What's Mordresh up to right now? I've definitely lost count.
Good question. Sorry, were you expecting an answer to that question as opposed to me just acknowledging that it was a good question? It is on 6 out of 10.
Okay. So no matter what, SuperFake can't activate Mordresh on curve, right?
Correct. Yep.
So this looks like a trade into Mask. Okay.
Oh boy, I hate it.
You want to... I guess there's a tradable option here with the Drakefire Amulet, but other than that, it's like Ice Barrier, Wildfire, Trade, Ping, and... I don't know, there's still a lot of damage on board.
I feel like that's better at removing damage on average, though.
I think if... look, I think if you play
or
this
that could just happen, sure. No, that's
what
fine.
I said was going to happen. If you play in this Mage deck, Sol, and you've submitted it to Grandmasters, you're a confident person.
Yeah.
Therefore, sometimes you've just got to believe. But honestly, that Mask was huge, hitting exactly how it hit, clearing the whole board. That has saved SuperFake a lot of health.
Mm-hmm.
And also, these fragments getting, I want to say burnt, that's the wrong word, just drawn, I guess, is just simply correct. Without the Lion's Frenzy being equipped is actually a small win for SuperFake as well.
Lion's Frenzy Glide is going to jack that barrier away. Looking for Barrier to come back again. Second Evoker is probably a huge draw for him as well, because I think SuperFake is just looking in terms of pure armor being able to stop this.
Also just a hero, right?
Very true. Yeah, very true. The Ice Barrier does come back.
Nice. Got Parrot for another Mask as well. It's 16 attack though.
16, 17. Solskjaer can go in for more. 18.
We're out of time though.
He is.
I think he's just had to force an attack through and say that's just going to be it. Has one more charge of the weapon.
Plays a Librarian though.
Yeah, and again, SuperFake runs double Viper as well.
He does play double Viper. He does also have Talon as the Divine Shield Taunt here as well.
So Talon, Ice Barrier? And there's only 2 draws left. How much does SuperFake know right now? He'll know there's another Solskjaer, right?
Yes.
Which, let's just say 100% gets drawn. How likely is it that XBlyzes doesn't just draw these 2 cards, right? It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
So he knows there's fragments which are going to add damage.
Yes.
I'm struggling to see anything better than Barrier Talon.
Yeah, the problem is that I think you can calculate that loses, right? Because the Solskjaer and a 1/1 is then used to deal with the Talon perfectly cleanly, right? But then the 8 damage that's left in play on the minions removes your Ice Barrier 100% cleanly, and then your opponent just has to draw 4 cards this turn, which is the 2 cards in his deck, plus the 2 Soul Fragments that are going to come off the Solskjaer. So I think you calculate this play loses 100% of the time. Problem is, there's no better play available this turn. So
yeah, because he has Sentinel to guarantee draw, right? Which is as long as he can play any card in his hand on either side. That should be the draw, so that should add up to the damage.
4 + 3 + 1, going to scythe through that Ice Barrier nice and clean, and now even with a little extra addition of the tradable, if he really wants to go for it, he can get there. But he's instead going to go for the extra draw, plus the hero power, and he's going to get over the line for 5 in the end, and that is going to put Blyze on the hill for our first week of Grandmasters, and you can see the emotion, or for I guess once, the lack of emotion on SuperFake's face, which is really more telling than anything else that we've seen so far.
Yeah, and I will just shout out as well, like, that was a close game, right? It's not like that Mage got steamrolled. Obviously, a lot of it down to the BGH, of course. But just in general, like, all SuperFake had to do was to get through that final turn, and that's game, right? He literally beat the whole of xBlyzes' deck at that point. So a very, very close one. So hopefully SuperFake isn't too disheartened with that one. But still, as you said, xBlyzes now only one game away from taking the victory, not only in this match, but this week, and would be the champion of week 1. And he just has this Druid left. But if there's ever a deck that's going to bite you a little bit, I feel like it's going to be this specific Druid. We've seen it just steamroll games, and we've seen it completely whiff and cause havoc and just lose against anything. So a bit of a spicy one to end, or potentially end the series on, but we do see it's going to be Mage again for SuperFake going on. So again, excited to see more Mage, even if SuperFake loses this one. I think all of us can be happy that we got to see this Mage deck as often as we have had this week in Europe.
Yeah, it's absolutely been a pleasure, honestly. It's a great way to kick off the week. I think, you know, SuperFake has added so much to the entertainment of the broadcast in terms of the decks that he's playing and in terms of just him as a person as well. He's looking like he's going to be a fantastic addition for this final year of Hearthstone Grandmasters, but it's looking more and more like this might be the end of the road for him, at least for this first week. But I am not going to count him out yet, because he has shown that through best deck Mage, all things are possible.
Yeah, and one thing I'll just say straight away, no matter how this series goes as well, SuperFake, one thing you won't say about him as a new Grandmaster, new face to a lot of the viewers, not boring, very memorable. So hopefully, we'll see some crazy decks going up next week as well from SuperFake. But let's dive in. There's still a chance he can still fight back and grab a win. But he is up already, Sol. Cold Tooth Mine, Innovate, Guff in the opening. That's the one you want.
That is the one you want.
Oh,
Quick passes on both sides, I'm sure. Yes, indeed.
What a terrible curve, though, for SuperFake. It does have 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, it's fine.
Kind of double bonus of Star Scryer is that if it's killed, it not only spends 2 mana of your opponent, but also draws you a card anyway. So it's kind of a win-win. Obviously not going to be traded away there, whilst Overgrowth has something to say about it.
Are you calling this one over, Blyze? Was that a round of applause? As in GG, I've won?
Well,
are
you not calling it?
Now that you mention it, the fact that he now gets to save the Cold Tooth Mine and just have natural Kazakhstan in his hand is such a big difference. Such a big difference. I cannot overstate that.
Hold the phone, though.
That is 39 and a big board that he has to deal with right now. And if Big Game Hunter comes off the top to be able to just tempo deal with this Kazakhstan this turn, maybe that's enough tempo to get there.
And even if not, there's a turn 5 can, as far as I can see it, Sol.
Boombots, Locusts,
Cards.
Bubba. Right?
The way you pronounce that name? Bubba.
Bubba. Probably Wand, right?
Yeah. You want something as, emergency removal.
Yeah.
Just have to think about highs and lows, though, right? Because he has Cold Tooth. So, like, for example, now, that's kind of an unfun set of cards, because now I guess he'll always be going Cold Tooth for high anyway.
Yeah.
And trade the 3-1 in first, just if there's any particular spell he's looking for. I'm not sure what that spell would be off the top of my head. But it is an option. I mean, so much of this deck is actually minions.
Yeah, it's very limited on the spell count, because that's kind of what it's designed around with Evoker and Parrot and the discounts, right? So
he could trade, get Wildfire, play it, and then Reckless, and then just keep the 2/2 on the board to push.
Okay.
That's something, and it pushes obviously 2 to face. It's not a lot, but it's.
Is that better than coin Cairn and ship it all face, though? That's my question.
I don't think so. I'm just saying what he could do. So just saying what he could do. But yeah, I like the Cairn. It's just, it's awkward, and without a wand exactly, it's kind of awkward to get rid of.
Exactly. All right, Waxy Boy, not the best draw here. He's going to draw again, finds Locusts. This is not a wand.
And now he wouldn't have mana anyway, so he could just save the Cold Tooth for... It's very awkward, actually. He has a lot of armor, which he could just take the turn off to armor. But then when is he playing these Locusts?
I think now. I think they have to be played now.
13, so SuperFake would need to pull 7 damage onto 6 mana.
There's no damage. If you have minions on board, there's no damage in the deck, right? I think is the best way to
that's
think
what I mean.
about it.
Yeah. But also, like, Mask can't be played because he's also not seen the Shivering Sorceress, who he knows there's only natural mana costed cards.
Yep. Yeah, I think this is the right way to go about it.
If he gets the Wildfire now, Sol. Make the 3.
Yeah, Wildfire Reckless would have been an absolute show stealer this turn.
Here we go.
And still can be.
Yeah. Oh, easy.
Oh, there it is.
Hold it. Oh.
I can take him.
Okay. Does still have to trade into this 8/8, potentially. He's certainly going to stop and think about it here.
So that would have been probably afraid of Moon Touch or Feral. That would have done it or not, I'm not sure. But now there's Wand. But again, the problem with Wand is that what's the follow-up for him?
He can just get a Waxy Boy in play, right?
Yeah.
That seems fine. Oh.
Job's done.
Oh, really?
That's 10, so he again needs 7. But he's got another Reckless.
He does have another Reckless. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Opponent down to 9. But I think what he's saying here, right, is that does his capture Cold Tooth draw Locusts again? Does he have anything more expensive than Locusts in his deck? So from his position, this is just a lethal setup?
But Barrier Reckless from SuperFake.
Yep.
That looks very solid. He misses a ping, but with Mask next turn, unless there's exactly another Locust, who cares?
But I think this is good, though, right? Because even if this doesn't work, he set up the 2-turn lethal, which is generally always good to do. Even if it fails in the scenario of second Reckless Ice Barrier, he can still go Wand plus Armor on the following turn and still be absolutely fine, right? Like, he still has plenty of ways to protect himself.
I can take him.
Well, one thing I do know, I don't need to ask you about if Mordresh is active.
Yep. That is one juiced up Mordresh, I can tell you that much.
And the thing is, yes, there's armor to defend, but Mask of Cthulhu times, X is often a lot of damage pushed through over, back-to-back turns, especially if one whole turn is spent just going for the straight damage to face.
Oh, he still has it, right? He still has Moon Touched for the extra damage to be able to clutch this out. I wasn't even accounting for the Moon Touched or Feral Rage being able to be used offensively here. That's 6 more damage down to 3. And then Moon Touched or Feral Rage is going to end the game. The 2-turn lethal setup was even better than I thought it was, Raven. Beautifully played stuff from Blyze, and he gets his way over the line. And once again, he is off to an absolute bang. When the meta is full of these degenerate, ignore your opponent, slam powerful stuff on board, do the strongest thing you can do every turn, that is where Blyze seems to excel. He does really seem to have a good time playing these kinds of decks, and he has put in a fantastic performance. Of course, I cannot let this go without giving a final word to probably the primary source of entertainment for us all this week in SuperFake. Well done, my friend. You have arrived in Grandmasters with an absolute bang as well, and congratulations on your performance. But for now, at least, the focus has to be on yet another fantastic performance from xBlyzes.
Yeah, I just echo your sentiment, really. SuperFake, super entertaining, and also, let's not mess around. Yes, he didn't win, didn't get the 5 points, but he got more points than literally every other Grandmaster apart from xBlyzes in Europe. So it's still an extremely solid performance, and one that I think is still going to pay off for him going forward in the rest of the season. But yeah, couldn't agree more. So xBlyzes just does it again, and as usual, when xBlyzes is feeling it, when he's enjoying the game, when he's on fire, he just destroys everyone. And it's just been such a confident display, especially with this lineup. And again, shouts to RDU as well, who had a near identical lineup and also made it to top 4. I think those two players, along with SuperFake, have been heavily rewarded for the lineup building in a relatively difficult week to build lineups in, just coming off of not only the back of a mini set, which did really shake up the meta, but also a Masters Tour, which you do then have to not only say, oh, well, this did well in Masters Tour, great. You have to realize that everyone else is thinking that too, and then build off that knowledge. So yeah, I think these players have definitely done well in their lineup building. SuperFake doing it definitely one way, and RDU and xBlyzes doing it the other. So yeah, congratulations to xBlyzes there. Really, really great first week of Grandmasters.
And it does, of course, mean that despite xBlyzes winning, of course, his Demon Hunter did take an L during that series.
Oh, terrible day.
Which means that Brute Demon Hunter is not 100% win rate anymore. In fact, the only thing remaining in Grandmasters with 100% win rate is me, Raven, with my 2 for 2 perfect predictions. Yet again, the dynasty continues. Bask in my glory.
I just want to mention this because you guys won't see the Discord messages or whatever we have, but when Sottle found out that my first prediction for APAC was correct, it was like, yeah, Team Europe, yeah, we're the best. Then, when I get one wrong and he gets one right, he's like, yeah, I'm the best. Yeah, if I get the Americas one right later, he'll be like, yeah, Team Europe, the best. It's disgusting, but honestly, I would do the same, so I can't even really be that upset. But yeah, just been a really crazy week overall with Grandmasters. I do believe we are going to try and get xBlyzes on for an interview, which we know we have heard you and we are with you. We've enjoyed interviews more than anyone else, I imagine. So hopefully we can get that sorted. And I've just had it in my ear that I think we have got that sorted. So we'll say goodbye to Sottle for just a minute while I get to speak to xBlyzes. Hello, xBlyzes. Can you hear me first?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hi.
We're already doing better than Asia Pacific, which is often the case with Europe. First off, congratulations on the victory. I just want to start off by asking you, how are you feeling about the current meta? We just had the mini set not too long ago. Is this a meta you're enjoying? The lineup seems to have done really well. So is this because you're having fun with the game, or because you just think the cards are good?
No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really playing the game actually, so I don't know about the meta. I'm really not playing the game. So.
Well,
like I just took the Masters Tour winners lineup, and it went right. So nice.
Okay, well, at least with this lineup, with Brute Demon Hunter being so successful for you and RDU in Europe, we've seen you, historically do well with Brute Demon Hunter in general. With the lineup you ended up with, at least are the decks these ones that you actually enjoy piloting anyway, right? Because we've seen you play Brute.
Yeah, of course.
We know Miracle Priest is pretty in depth, so are they still decks that have felt good for you?
Yeah, of course. I still feel good playing them. I know to play them well, so it was a good lineup for me anyway.
Okay, and going into the finals versus SuperFake, were you feeling confident, or were you a little bit worried about the weapon rogue, as we saw again in the matchup with RDU?
Exactly, I was worried about the weapon rogue, but I don't know. I just went IQ this first, and if I don't win, it's okay. I had a bad matchup, so.
Yeah, well, you made it work. Yeah, exactly. And we knew you were going to queue the rogue first. We've seen you do this sort of thing before. Just
I don't
get it
want to lose time, so.
Exactly. So just to finish up, is there any final words you want to say before we wrap it up? And again, we don't want to lose time, so we'll let you go after this.
No, nothing to say. GG to everyone I played against.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations again, and we will see you next week in Grandmasters. See you later.
See you.
You've got to love Blyze, haven't you?